So the practice owners were completely convinced that their front staff was the reason that their office was failing. Their collections were in the gutter, and they were struggling more and more to pay their bills and to make payroll. And honestly, that's when a lot of dentists like do reach out for our services. And they one day finally ran their reports. And honestly, like problem number one was that they were not doing that on a regular basis. Yeah. And, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So, and they were shocked to see that their insurance aging was like pages and pages long, which of course meant that their AR was astronomical too. And when these practice owners came to us and they said they needed help, the reason that they gave was that their front desk staff was unmotivated, not doing their job, not working on the reports, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. When we started the job, we fully expected to face a people issue. We're bracing ourselves a little bit. Our systems always work a little bit better when we have willing participants, right? So we were bracing ourselves a little bit, but it turns out that what was missing was systems, and it nearly cost these owners their practice.
The truth is, you might not need to replace your team.
Yeah.
You might need to replace your chaos with some structure.
Welcome to the Truth Decay Podcast, talking dollars and cents with Sara Baker and LaRae McMullen.
So today's episode dives into the root of front office burnout. Honestly, why blaming your people might be one of the worst moves you can make, practice owners.
And we'll show you why even the best staff can't thrive in broken systems and how to build the kind of structure that leads to profitability and peace of mind.
So when this particular client came to us, they were absolutely convinced that their front desk staff was, like they said, lazy, unmotivated, the reason that things were falling apart. And in all of like the initial conversations that I had with them, it honestly didn't even occur to them, in my opinion, that there would be any other reason that things were going wrong other than their like front desk.
And as we were getting ready to onboard them, we were preparing for a serious intervention, coaching, accountability training, all of that. So, yeah. But the truth was more revealing.
Yeah. And once we started with the office, we kind of quickly saw what was happening. Like the front desk staff were scrambling every day, like just to keep things running.
Yeah.
Like they had no systems, they were provided no guidance, and they were given no clarity on what was expected of them from the practice owners. So, but when things were found to be going poorly, they were being given all of the blame for not meeting those expectations that they were not being made clear on. Mm-hmm. Starting to see the problem?
Yeah, they didn't have any tools to explain treatment plans. The fee schedules were super old and they were wrong. And so the estimates that their practice management software were creating for them, they were very off.
And they were not being given dedicated time or know-how in order to do any insurance follow-up on that aging report that was pages and pages long. The claims were getting older. The list just kept getting longer, and they had no support to take care of that.
Yeah, you can pretty much forget about following up on AR, finalize balances, sending statements, anything that comes to like that patient portion, right? Because they lacked the systems and then the confidence. They didn't have the confidence in what those balances were. They also didn't have time, and they basically, everything that they needed in order to work successfully on that AR, they didn't have a system for it.
I mean, the bottom line is that, like, honestly, they were working their asses off.
Yeah.
Like, they really were, just to make sure that the chairs were full every single day, that patients were showing up, that treatment plans were being signed, that treatment was being sold, and that claims were able to be sent with treatment being posted to accounts. Like
Yep.
those things every day it was just a cycle of like scrambling to
Yeah.
get those things done every single day.
Right. They weren't being lazy. They were just lost. And they needed, and they were still showing up and trying every day. What looked like dysfunction was actually just disorganization.
So the great news, actually, in this particular instance, was that this story had a happy ending. Once we installed systems, clarity, and accountability, this office's performance like skyrocketed. We were able to get people to understand what they needed to do, when they needed to do it, and we got the insurance aging report cleaned up, a steady maintenance routine going on that. Once that was set up, we got the rest of the AR cleaned up and kind of under control. Collections went up to like 99 to 100% on a regular basis. And it's a real success story with this particular office.
Well, and more importantly, I think the office had a pretty significant morale shift. They felt seen, they were equipped, and they were finally empowered to succeed instead of being blamed and abandoned. The practice owners really had to work on earning some goodwill back, and some trust with their staff.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, if you're a practice owner and you're listening to this and some of what we're saying is resonating with you, maybe the description of what you might think of your front or the money issue or something else, where maybe should they start?
Yeah. So step one is going to be pull your reports. If you are not doing that, like if this office, they were not looking at their reports. Again, we kind of said that the staff wasn't being provided any guidance, no clear expectations because the owners didn't know, right? So you have to be looking at your numbers. And I understand that that's actually kind of scary. And there's some avoidance sometimes with like, if I don't look at it, it's not there.
Yeah.
It's there. Like, I promise you it's there. So pull your reports. I would actually start with your day sheets for maybe the past like 6 individual months. If you got the time, go back 12, look at your whole year because there's seasonality with your reporting. But if 6 months would do ya, look at your total production, look at your adjusted production, and look at your collections. So figure out your collections to adjusted production number. And you can do that. We're going to tell you how to do that right now. It's really easy. So divide your collections, take a month, take your collections number and divide it by your adjusted production and then multiply it by 10. So let's take a month where your collections we're going to use nice round numbers. Let's say you collected $91,000. And I know there's maybe some people who are like, $91,000. So $91,000. Let's say your adjusted production in the month was $100,000. Okay. So you would divide 91,000 by 100,000 and then times it by 100. And that would equal 91%, which if you listen to our previous episode, which you did, I know you did, that's the industry average collections, right? So if you run reports, this is like really eye-opening if you do this. And if you run these reports and you see high production but low collection rates, that actually tells me that your staff is consistently running themselves ragged to keep your production high, but they have no time for other things. That's what happened in this office. Their production numbers were consistently very, very high, but the collection numbers were low because what they were doing was just trying to produce enough to whatever did come in could pay the bills.
Right. So if your insurance aging and your AR reports are ballooning, then that typically means that your team's too busy fighting fires to follow up on those things. So
that's right.
It's a workflow problem.
Yeah, it's a system issue, not a people issue.
Yeah.
And after looking at these reports, start a conversation with your team. Like, this might be wacky, doctors, but ask. Ask your staff, what do you need? What's making your job harder? than it should be. And I'm going to say, I know as a business owner that's, if you have something in your tummy that's telling you, ooh, I don't want to ask, you need to really think about that. I need you to chase that feeling and figure out why. Because I can tell you that if you as a business owner feel confident in how things are going, you really should feel pretty good about talking to your staff and having an open and honest conversation with them. If you are extremely reluctant to have a conversation with your staff, genuinely, I'm being real, ask yourself, what is stopping me from having this conversation, and kind of start there. And because you have to be able to ask your team what they need.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's really only going to benefit everybody. It's going to benefit your team. It's going to strengthen your relationship. It's going to benefit your patients.
Yeah.
It's going to benefit your ability to collect what's owed to you. Avoiding an issue is not going to help anybody. You have to put your big boy and big girl and big they panties on and address this.
Well, yeah, because most of the time, a hardworking, knowledgeable staff, they'll tell you exactly where they feel the cracks are, but you have to be willing to listen. So that feeling in your tummy, it could be a little bit of guilt, but the good thing is that you can just ask and you can move on. Today's a new day, so ask where they think they could use some help.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they don't know, then you as their leader have an opportunity to help figure out what they need to be successful. If you have a good team, right, and they are willing and they have the right attitude, but they don't have the skill, that's okay.
Yeah.
You, as their leader, have to be willing to go, let's learn together. Let's figure it out. It is, in my opinion, it's not worth throwing the baby out with the bathwater because they don't know how to effectively work an insurance aging report. That's why you listen to podcasts that can help you with this, or you call people that can help you work these reports, right?
Well, I mean, and I just to kind of interject myself there. It's actually, so as somebody who does hiring for a company and stuff, it's very, very, very important.
Wait, which company?
I can't tell. Proprietary information. But it's really important. I mean, it's really not important. It is important, but it's really great to have somebody with a really good personality, because people can be trained. So if they have that good attitude and that can do, willing to learn, personality and attitude, that will take you so far. Like, honestly.
Yeah.
If you can have somebody in there that thinks they know everything, but then when you want to change a process, or when you come up with a new thing, or maybe they just know a different way than you do, and you go to them and you're like, hey, we're going to do it like this now. If they don't have the right attitude, that's so much harder to work with than somebody who's got a great attitude that's willing to learn.
1,000%. And like, also, this example, like this particular office too, the owners made a really good decision to come to us and get help, right? To use somebody, a professional, to help them clean up. But the funny part is that they actually, like, their assumptions were wrong.
Yeah.
They thought that they needed help because their front wasn't working hard or whatever. And the truth is that it's not that the front wasn't working hard. It was ineffective.
Yeah.
It was inefficient, right? And it wasn't their fault. So the owners needed to kind of take their lumps, and they needed to take their part of it and learn. And they did, right? Like they did do what they needed to do to become a part of the processes and start, their checking day sheets, being accountable with deposits, making sure that the staff had the resources that they needed. And like, to your point, having a staff that is willing to, in a way, kind of forgive the chaos that had been there and go, let's go. Like, I'm excited to learn a new thing. And, and ultimately too, as the business owner, if I think I've already said it in this episode, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And you have to be able to measure what your success is. And your staff needs to be involved in that too, and be able to see their successes. And they weren't seeing any successes. Yeah. It was just,
which honestly makes for a hard day at work, right? Like you're going in there and you're busting your butt and you're filling that schedule, as we saw in this scenario with the high production. But like we said, this turned out to be, a success story. So you can turn it around. So Sarah, what are the summaries from our discussion today?
Yeah, I mean, so like you just said, this office avoided burnout.
Yeah.
And that's where they were headed, is all this, the chaos, the kind of culture of blame and assumption. They were headed for burnout. And burnout isn't always about bad attitudes. It's often about bad or lack of systems, right? You can't expect people to build a house with no blueprint, and you just can't.
Exactly. So lack of motivation is usually a symptom, and it's not the root problem. So when people feel unsupported or unheard, then they typically shut down.
And as leaders, we have to do and own our part.
Yeah.
Honest reflection goes a long way in creating the kind of culture where accountability thrives, and your staff has to see you do it.
Yeah.
They have to see you kind of be humble or at least like model what you want them to do. You can't delegate them
when you don't understand it either.
You have to do it too.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
For sure.
You have to demonstrate a willingness to learn and a willingness to adapt and a willingness to change. And then hopefully, if you have the right staff with you, they will too.
Yeah, because your willingness to learn and grow, it sets the tone for them. So your team are going to follow if they see you leading with humility and purpose.
Yeah.
So Sarah, what are our takeaways for today?
So I would say number one, a disorganized system creates stress.
Yeah.
Like not just for you, the practice owner, but for every single member of your team.
Mm-hmm. And number two, the right systems unlock efficiency, profitability, and peace of mind. Because chaos, it's not a strategy.
And number three, ask your team what's broken before you assume that they are.
Yeah.
LaRae, what are 2 action steps that our listeners can take right now?
Okay, so number 1, pull your collections and insurance aging reports this week, today if you have time. See if that data matches your assumptions.
Yeah, and I would actually add to that too, go do what we said, which is do your total production, adjusted production, and collections too, and figure out your percentage, right?
Sure.
Like do both of those things.
And then number 2, ask your front office team one open-ended question. If you could fix one thing to make your job easier, what would that be?
Yeah, and see what they say, man. And again, if your tummy is like, oh, I don't want to, start there.
Listen to your tummy.
Yeah, listen to your tummy. Your front office isn't failing. Your systems are.
Yeah.
Honestly. And I'm going to be real. If you don't have the right person at your front desk, which absolutely could be a possibility. We've worked with offices sometimes that don't have the right person at the front desk.
Yeah.
That's a system issue too. Like somewhere along the way, you don't have a system to have corrected that, to have made that person accountable for the way that you want the office to be run, to have a process in place by which that person goes their way.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's a system issue too. And the good news is systems can be fixed.
For sure. And you don't need a miracle team. You need a clear roadmap. So start with some structure and then kind of watch that transformation. Like you'll be surprised.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's our spiel, guys. If you liked what you heard today, consider subscribing and anywhere you're listening, right? And you can send us an email at hello@thetruthdecaydpodcast.com. You can also please go to our website at sddentalsolutions.com. We've got some kind of cool stuff there, honestly. We have some case studies from some things that we've, I'm adding to those. We have a scholarship that we offer. Go check out our scholarship. We got some cool stuff. Go look at our little Pixar heads. Go check them out. My hair looks different, but don't just ignore that. But yeah, send us an email. That'd be fun.
Yeah, you can also find us on LinkedIn. Both Sarah and myself have a LinkedIn, and then we also have the SD Dental Solutions business page. So you can also find us on Instagram at SD Dental Solutions and on Facebook.
Yep. And please join us next time on the Truth Decay podcast, where we're talking insurance verification overload, why full breakdowns aren't always smart. Try targeted instead. And so basically, we're talking about why a full insurance breakdown might be breaking your team and how a targeted appointment approach could be the smarter, faster solution.
I'm going to love that one. I can talk for days on that one.
I know, me too. We'll have to rein it in.
We'll have to rein it in. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time on the Truth Decay podcast.
Thank you, guys. Bye.